In today's video, we're going to be talking about easy landscape designs. So if you're looking to re-landscape the front of your house, today's video is going to be the perfect video for you. Hi, I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings, and today I'm out at the rental house, which is located next to the greenhouses here at Garden Crossings. You can see in the background are the greenhouses. And this rental house, when we purchased it, the landscape was probably 45 years old and just really tired and overgrown looking. So we ripped everything out. We put in some fresh new planting soil, and today we went ahead and got the space planted up. So this is a west facing landscape, so it gets sun from about noon until the end of the day. We're located in a zone 6A, and let's just go ahead and take a look at what we planted in this gardening space. This is the space we're planting into. It's a fairly average size house for our area here. The front of it doesn't have a lot of roadside appeal. When we bought it, it had gray siding. We changed it up to blue just to give it a little bit more character. But we want to just add some fun new things into the landscape to give this house a fun from the road look. So when we bought the house, you'll see there's a bunch of rock or landscape cinders that are in here, and this was all here. So we just kind of left the shape that was here. It works. It created a nice planting space. What we did need to do though is we had to get these top rocks in place just to kind of cap it off. You could see down into these blocks, and we didn't like that look. We wanted it to be a nice finished look. So we put this cap on here to give it a nice finished look. With the shape of this area that we're landscaping into, there's like 3 bump outs. So you can see the bump out right here, and it kind of goes in and goes flat. Another little bump out, goes flat. And then at the very end, there's kind of like a semicircle that kind of goes out from the house and curves around towards the back. Now the odd thing is these bump outs don't really land where I would call it being a symmetrical look. So I would anticipate, like, I don't know, the bump out landing in front of the windows, but they don't both land in front of the windows. So I'm a very symmetrical person. So we had to think about what we could do here to give it some symmetry and utilizing what was here. So let's start off at the very beginning of the planting bed. So this space here, there are 3 tiers of what we'll call planting boxes. It's a cement type of a thing, and we just put potting soil down in there and are planting into each of those 3 spaces. This is going to always be annuals. So Rod's vision for this little area is you're coming up to the house, you're going to always have bright annuals just welcoming you. So in the top layer right now, there's some Truffula Pink Gomphrena. There is Superbell's White. We bump down to the Nemesia Bluebird. And then in the bottom layer, there's the Unplugged Pink Salvia, the Bordeaux Supertunia, and the Superbena Whiteout. On the very edge there, you'll see some Lemon Coral Sedum, along with the Pennisetum rubrum grass. And on the other side of the box, it matches with some more Lemon Coral Sedum and the Pennisetum rubrum grass. So this area will always be annuals. Right now, these are some of the things that we had in the greenhouse. So if you were to order online, this is what you're getting. Like, this is what they look like this late in the season. These annuals are beautiful. Now, because it is August and we don't have a lot of season left here in West Michigan, we're a zone 6A, Rod just packed these garden beds full of flowers. That way it does have a big impact. Typically, I would be planting an annual about every 12 inches or so in this space. So probably needing maybe 7 or 8 in each layer, depending on if I wanted to create a double layer like on the top there. If I'm going to plant 8 of the white Superbells, I would do 7 Gomphrena, kind of doing a zigzag pattern. Obviously this layer with Bluebird is a little bit narrower, so that's just a singular, and we could really get away with about 8 or 9 plants there. And then same here on the bottom, you could go with about 8 plants, 7 plants, kind of creating that zigzagged pattern. But it just depends. How full do you want it? How fast, right? This time of year we want it filled fast, but if it was May right now, we definitely we wouldn't want it this full right off the bat. We'd want to watch it grow and enjoy it as the summer goes on. Making our way down the front of the house, we're going to kind of look at like the bay window there. So what did we do in front of the bay window? So let's step back again so you can kind of see the space. So there's the bay window, and we created a symmetrical look here. So it does dip in by the bay window with the two circular jet outs on either side. So that kind of was sort of a symmetrical feel to it. So what we did is we took the Ilex Glow Pop, which is a wonderful evergreen shrub with a nice chartreuse coloration that gets 3 foot tall by 3 foot wide. So that will fit just nicely in there. We didn't want anything super tall. Then on the edge of that bay window, you'll see there is the coneflower. That's the Sombrero Rosata, beautiful pink coneflower. And then in front of the bay window, there are 5 of the Sprinter boxwood. So we like to plant kind of in odd numbers. So 5 was a perfect fit for this space. The Sprinter gets about 3 foot tall, 3 foot wide. So as those grow, it's going to create a solid hedge. And then back here on the other side of the bay window, we've got another Ilex Glow Pop, along with another Rosata coneflower. And then we also, as we're heading forward, we did the Pugster Blue butterfly bush. That gets 2 foot tall, 2 foot wide. So that'll be really pretty for mid to late summer color. And then you'll notice we've got these beautiful dianthus. This is the Paint the Town Fancy Dianthus. These are spring blooming perennials, but we gave them a nice trim in the greenhouse, and they've bloomed a couple times yet this summer. So that is one nice thing with perennials. If you give them a trim, a lot of times they're going to reward you with second and third blooms. Now in front of the bay window here, we did do some bubblegum supertunias, because in this little area, we want it to also be a consistent splash of color. So that's going to look pretty with the pink of that bubblegum supertunia up against the backdrop of the green of the Sprinter boxwood. And then to create that symmetry again, we've got more of the dianthus, the Paint the Town Fancy, which this is really pretty much a full-grown size there of the Paint the Town Fancy, about 10 inches tall, 12 inches wide or so. And then we tucked in another Pugster Blue butterfly bush. So when this was designed, we wanted to have evergreen in mind. That way there'd always be something going on, even in the heart of winter. And then with the perennials, we wanted to find perennials that would bloom early, mid, and late season, just again, so there's always something cycling and in color. So I think Rod did a pretty good job of getting all the seasons kind of reflected in what he chose. As we move down now in front of this window, we'll call it a bedroom or office window, it goes flat again. So let's take a look at this space. So that's where it goes flat before it jets out to the corner there. So in this space here, he kind of used it or created like another, let's say, room in the garden. And he's starting it off there with the Let's Dance Ariba big leaf hydrangea. The shadow of the sun, I'm in it. So Let's Dance Ariba. I'm not sure if this is going to be purple or blue. It'll depend on the soil here. So we'll see next year when it blooms what color the flowers are. But we like using the Let's Dance Ariba or the Let's Dance series of big leaf hydrangea here in Michigan because they're fairly hardy to our zone 6 climate. Hardy meaning, of course, a lot of times they'll come back with their foliage, but they don't always flower. But the Let's Dance series have been bred and they have increased hardiness to them, and they are fairly reliable even in zones, well, for sure in zone 6, but even into zone 5 they do quite well. So Let's Dance Ariba. Now you'll notice there are 2 holes in this space. Our original thought was we wanted to do the hydrangea little lime punch there, but after looking at it, it can get 3 to 5 foot tall. So if it only does get 3 foot tall, perfect plant for tucked under that window. But if it gets 5 foot tall, that's going to be just a little bit too tall for this space. Now, I'm not saying you couldn't do it, but we really don't want the shrub to get, over top of or in front of those windows. We want it to stay just nicely below. So we're going to grow some of the Firelight Tidbit and put them in that space, because that tidbit only gets 3 foot tall, 3 foot wide. So that's going to be a more appropriate size for what we're thinking of this space. So those are reserved for Firelight tidbit. We also have 2 spireas. We have the double play dolly, which is a beautiful chartreuse spirea that gets about 2 to 3 foot tall, 2 to 3 foot wide. And that foliage color is going to be nice in here because it's going to kind of break up some of those greens. Midsummer, it gets beautiful pink flowers, so that will look really nice. Now he's got bubble gum right up front and center. So this also will be a pocket of annuals. Now I don't know what we're going to do, if it's always going to be bubble gum, or we like our jazzberry around here. But this is just right now what we're doing is bubble gum. For those of you who have not grown bubble gum before, bubble gum is an excellent landscape petunia. It can get up to 3 foot wide with proper fertilizer and watering, and about 2.5 foot tall. So this is really going to create a beautiful consistent splash of color here in front of the window when we're waiting for those hydrangeas or the spireas to go into bloom. One thing you'll notice is we like to mix annuals and perennials and shrubs together. And I know some people don't really like to do that. They want to just stick with one thing. But it's important to mix those things together, because your annuals, they're your consistent splash of color. That's what's going to give you color all summer long. But it's really nice to have those shrubs more as an anchor plant in the landscape. And then those perennials that kind of cycle and have their time to shine. It's great to mix all these things in together. Now that we're to the corner of the house, you'll notice some more really bright, beautiful chartreuse color, and that is the lemon coral sedum. So the lemon coral sedum circles around the whole little jet out here. So that's just really a nice bright splash of color that frames in this corner. I could even see that being white sun patience next year. I think that would look really pretty, especially with the blue of the house. The next layer back is the Allium serendipity. An Allium serendipity is more of a mid to late summer perennial. That fun, whimsy look. Excellent pollinator plant. So that will look really pretty here. We also have a few sedums. These are the perennial sedums. This is the Rock and Grow Black and Black. Beautiful dark foliage. And that's going to bloom with some pinkish magenta blooms a little bit later on in the season. So the foliage color will be there pretty consistently until in the fall when it starts to bloom with its beautiful pink flowers. Now the plant on the end, that's kind of our, let's say, our anchor plant, we chose the Bloomerang Dark Purple Lilac. Bloomerang Dark Purple will get 4 foot tall and 4 foot wide, and it's a spring blooming lilac, but it not only blooms in the spring, it blooms throughout the summer as well. So we'll have our massive flush of that beautiful lilac color in May, and then throughout the summer, as it's reblooming, we'll have what I like to call spitter spatter flowers throughout the summer. Tucked just beyond that bloomerang, we did plant a few more of the cone flowers. They just add such a bright, cheery splash of color. This is the flamenco orange, and they are just, I think they look really nice against that blue of the house. So here you can see where in relation to the greenhouse this house is. Off in the far distance there is Garden Crossings greenhouses. Making our way to the side of the house, we have a few more things that we just kind of tucked in to round this planting off. We have the Armeria. This is Armeria, part of the Ballerina series. Just nice, long blooming perennial, small globe-shaped flowers that just dance here in the breeze. We have another Pugster butterfly bush, which I don't know, you can't have too many Pugster butterfly bushes. They're fragrant, they're beautiful, and this is the Pugster blue again. Pugster blue is our top selling in the Pugster series as far as the color, and it's such a beautiful purple. And then also by the downspout, we did a Let's Dance Can Do hydrangea. Like Ariba, this is a very reliable big leaf hydrangea that is hardy down to zone 5, and Can Do is really quick to set new blooms. So when this thing is flowering, you'll have buds just waiting to go for its second cycle of flowers. So in the Let's Dance series, this is the quickest to rebloom in the series. We are facing west right now. As I mentioned, we are a zone 6A. So the sun is setting there off in the distance. And all of these plants are plants that are hardy down to zone 5 at least, can take full sun, and like I mentioned, we're looking to have season-long color, be it evergreen, perennials that are cycling, annuals that give us consistent color. I think Rod did a pretty good job with designing this space, and we're excited to watch it as it continues to fill out year after year and enjoy the beauty to this home. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. If there is anything in this video that looked of interest to you, you can head to our website, gardencrossings.com, and we can ship these plants directly to your door. Thanks for watching. I'm Heidi from Garden Crossings.